The first time she said, "We're just friends," it felt like someone had quietly closed a door I didn't even know I was standing in. It happened on a warm autumn evening in Charleston, South Carolina, under the golden glow of street lamps that made everything look softer than it really was. I remember the sound of traffic humming in the distance, the smell of salt drifting in from the harbor, and the way my chest tightened when I overheard her say it to someone else. 3 simple words: casual, dismissive, final. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that love sometimes hides behind fear, then take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the truth waits for the right moment to be spoken. My name is Michael Carter. I was 32 at the time, a freelance physical therapist trying to rebuild my life after a messy divorce that left more emotional scars than I cared to admit. I'd moved to Charleston for a fresh start, trading the chaos of Atlanta for cobblestone streets and quiet mornings. That's where I met her, Hannah Whitmore. Hannah wasn't just any client. She was the marketing director of a fast-growing tech company downtown, confident, sharp, and always dressed like she had somewhere important to be. A cycling accident had left her with a torn ligament in her shoulder, and I was assigned to her case through a private clinic. At first, it was strictly professional. She showed up on time, rarely smiled, and treated every session like a business meeting. But over the weeks, something shifted. She started lingering after appointments, asking about my weekend, telling me about her childhood in Ohio, about her father who used to take her fishing every summer on Lake Erie. I learned she hated thunderstorms but loved the smell of rain. She learned I played guitar badly but passionately. We started grabbing coffee after sessions, then dinners, then long walks by the waterfront where the city lights reflected on the water like scattered stars. But every time someone assumed we were together, she would gently laugh and say, "Oh no, we're just friends." The first time, I brushed it off. The second time, it stung. By the third, it felt like a reminder of my place. I told myself it didn't matter. She was my client first. Boundaries were important, and maybe she just wasn't ready. After all, she had told me about her last relationship, a fiancé who left her 3 months before their wedding, saying she was too focused on her career to make room for love. The betrayal had hardened something inside her. Still, it was impossible to ignore the way she looked at me sometimes when she thought I wasn't watching, or the way her voice softened when she said my name. The real challenge wasn't her denial. It was my fear. After my divorce from Rachel, I had promised myself I wouldn't fall fast again. Rachel had left me for someone she met at work, and the humiliation of discovering it through a mutual friend had crushed my confidence. For months, I questioned everything about myself. Was I too boring, too soft, not ambitious enough? So when Hannah said we were just friends, part of me almost felt relieved. If she didn't see me as more, then I couldn't be rejected, but the heart doesn't work that way. One evening, about 3 months into her recovery, Hannah invited me to a company networking event. It was held at a rooftop bar overlooking the Charleston skyline. She insisted she needed moral support because corporate events exhausted her. I knew it was risky, mixing professional lines with personal feelings, but I went anyway. She wore a deep blue dress that caught the wind every time she moved. I wore the only blazer I owned that didn't scream clearance rack. As we stepped into the crowd of polished executives and ambitious entrepreneurs, I suddenly felt small. Hannah, on the other hand, transformed. She was magnetic, confident, laughing easily as she introduced me to colleagues. "This is Michael," she'd say. "He's my physical therapist." And then, almost as an afterthought, "We're just friends." Each time, I felt myself shrink a little. Midway through the evening, I stepped away to grab water. That's when I saw him, Ethan Caldwell. Tall, tailored suit, the kind of smile that looked expensive. I recognized him from a photo Hannah once showed me. He was her ex-fiancé. He approached her like he had every right to. From across the rooftop, I watched them talk. At first, it seemed polite. Then I saw him lean in too close. His hand brushed her arm. She stiffened. I could see it even from a distance. Something in me shifted. I didn't want to interfere. It wasn't my place. We were just friends, after all. But when he placed his hand firmly on her waist and she tried to step back, that's when my hesitation broke. I crossed the rooftop faster than I realized. My heart pounded in my ears as I reached them. I didn't say anything at first. I simply stood beside her, close enough for her to feel my presence. Ethan looked at me with mild annoyance, like I was interrupting a private conversation. Then it happened. He tightened his grip on her waist slightly, and I instinctively reached out, placing my hand gently on his wrist to remove it. It was a small gesture, calm, controlled. But Hannah's reaction wasn't small. Her voice cut through the music and chatter like a crack of thunder. "Get your hands off him." The rooftop fell quiet in my mind, even if the world around us kept moving. She wasn't looking at Ethan. She was looking at me. Her eyes were blazing, not with anger at me, but at the situation, at him, at everything she had swallowed for months. Ethan scoffed, muttered something under his breath, and stepped away, sensing he had lost whatever power he thought he still had. Hannah's breathing was unsteady. I could see her hands trembling. We left the event minutes later. On the drive back, neither of us spoke. The city lights blurred past the windshield, and my thoughts raced. What had just happened? Why had she reacted that way? When we reached her apartment, she didn't get out immediately. She stared straight ahead, gripping her purse tightly. Finally, she turned to me. Her voice was softer now, but stronger than I had ever heard it. She told me she was tired of pretending, tired of labeling us as just friends because it felt safer than admitting she cared. She confessed that every time she said those words, it wasn't to dismiss me, it was to protect herself, to create distance in case I decided she was too much, too career-driven, too complicated. She said watching Ethan put his hands on me, challenge me, belittle me, made something snap inside her. She realized she wasn't protecting herself from pain. She was pushing away the one person who had shown her steady kindness without expecting anything in return. In that quiet car, under the dim streetlight, the walls she had built began to crumble, and mine did too. I admitted I had been afraid of wanting more, afraid of being told I wasn't enough again. What changed everything wasn't a dramatic kiss or a perfect confession, it was the honesty, the vulnerability. We didn't rush into anything that night. We simply agreed to stop hiding behind labels. Over the next weeks, our relationship shifted naturally. We finished her physical therapy sessions professionally, then officially ended the client arrangement. We started dating openly. No more just friends. It wasn't perfect. We argued about schedules, about my insecurities, about her tendency to overwork. But we faced those challenges together, instead of pretending they didn't exist. Months later, we returned to that same rooftop bar, this time by choice. The air was cooler, the skyline just as breathtaking. Hannah stood beside me, her hand confidently in mine. When a coworker approached and asked how we knew each other, she smiled. "This is Michael," she said. "He's the man I almost lost because I was afraid to admit I loved him." There was no hesitation this time. No protective wall, just truth. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever hidden your feelings out of fear, please like this video, share it with someone who needs courage, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach people who are still waiting for their own moment of honesty. And before this story ends, I have a special request. Comment the word brave if you believe love requires courage. 'Cause sometimes, the difference between just friends and forever is a single moment of standing up, of speaking out, of saying, "Get your hands off him," and meaning so much more. Love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as friendship, waiting for fear to step aside. And when it does, it changes everything.